Hey everyone, back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day, and it's all about FFP again, and a little bit of media muppets thrown in for good measure. But this isn't a muppet this time, no. This is somebody from the media talking complete sense, and it is the voice of Sky Sports, Gary Neville himself, in his podcast that he does with Roy Keane and Wrighty and Carragher and Jill Scott. They were talking about FFP, and they were talking about the rules, and Gary Neville spoke really eloquently about it as well. And what's important about this is, whether he wants to admit it or not, Gary Neville's got quite a strong voice in football. It's a voice that carries a lot of weight. It's a voice that a lot of people quote and reference quite a lot, and they look to him as a real kind of instigator for change, I think, in football. He's very vocal about a lot of things, and I like the fact he spoke very candidly and honestly about this. So what he said about it in summary really is that he doesn't like the FFP rule. It was brought in by the elite clubs to protect the elite clubs, the top earning clubs, and it means that teams like Newcastle, wealthy owners, can't reach the top like you could have done last time, like City did, like Chelsea did, like back in the days of Jack Walker at Blackburn, buying Alan Shearer and Chris Sutton and getting to where they did and winning the Premier League title, little old Blackburn. These people have stopped this happening, and that's exactly what FFP is all about. He referenced Richard Masters, who's an utter shitwipe. He went into that meeting when he was questioned by Parliament, and he was so shifty, so just underhanded. That bloke kind of lying bed straight. He's crooked as fuck, much like a lot of these football people are. And it's really good to hear a lot of the people in football turn the tide a little bit on FFP. Gary Neville says he didn't like the rules in the first place, and they definitely need to change. And for me, 100% they need to change. And I think, we've highlighted this before. Kieran Maguire, the financial expert in football, said that it hasn't risen with inflation. They introduced this back in 2013, I think it was, off the back of Portsmouth going tits up, and it was £109 million losses. And inflation has grown. Football inflation has grown like every other inflation has grown. You can't go get your weekly shopping for the same price. Your electricity bill sure as shit isn't the same price. Fuck me, it's probably not the same price as it was 2 months ago. But that's a different podcast for a different time on a different channel. But the fact that this hasn't risen, and they're still quoting this £109 million figure and making clubs be held accountable for it, like Everton, who have been fined and done already and dock points, and could be docked more points, and Nottingham Forest getting dragged into this as well, and every other club walking on eggshells worrying about it, even clubs like Newcastle with rich owners that could, if there was no restrictions in place, like it was with Manchester City, like it was with Chelsea, blow every fucker out of the water. I've heard people turn around and say that's not what people want either, but this FFP thing is not working. It's only protecting the richest of the rich, and it reeks of something that the Premier League introduced to keep the likes of Manchester United and Liverpool sweet and happy, and make sure that nobody could challenge the status quo. And that's exactly what it is. And I'm so glad that somebody like Gary Neville has actually fronted up and said that as well. He's Manchester United through and through. He's a club icon, a club ambassador, but he's not scared to say it. He's not scared to say that, the biggest revenue clubs would be those two, for example, Liverpool, Manchester United. Whether City want to admit it or not, they're there now. But Richard Master was very sheepish about the court date for Manchester City. There's been stories going around that City could get relegated if they get found guilty. There's no way Manchester City will be relegated from the Premier League. They're too marketable, they're too sexy, they make too much money for the likes of Masters and the rest of his merry band of shithouses. So there's no way they're going to relegate Manchester City, but they'll take it out on Everton, they'll take it out on Forest, they'll take it out on Villa, they'll take it out on West Ham, Newcastle United. That's what they'll do. They won't attack the elite greedy six that was going to break away and start the Super League. That's not what the Premier League will do. They'll turn on everybody else, and this is the total anti method for having a competitive Premier League. All this does is keep the money in there. Gary Neville referenced that as well. You can end up in the same situation like Scotland with Rangers and Celtic, or La Liga with Barca and Real Madrid, where nobody can challenge the status quo. You won't get a story like Liverpool, sorry, like Leicester City again, living the dream and doing what they did. You won't get a story like Blackburn coming out of nowhere and winning the Premier League. You won't get Chelsea City being completely reinvented. I mean, Jesus Christ, Manchester City went from the doldrums, the laughingstock of Manchester, to a European worldwide powerhouse of a football club with the best manager arguably who's ever coached the game in Pep Guardiola. And those Manchester City fans who have suffered through all those years of Gillingham away into piss and rain and League Twos and things like that, they fully deserve everything that they're getting right now with the success that they get. Sadly for Newcastle United, our path is completely blocked and prohibited by this FFP shit, where we're arguing over loan deals for players, for fuck's sake. It's ridiculous. We're talking about selling our best players. This FFP thing, I agree with Neville, completely and utterly needs to be broken down rehashed and redeveloped. They need to consider inflation. So that 109 figure should easily be well over 200 million, like Kieran Maguire said. And they need to look at it with a broader spectrum. They really do. There needs to be some kind of a spending cap as a maximum figure in the Premier League. For example, £1 billion. Your squad cannot be more than £1 billion, right? And then that's a limit. That's a ceiling that all the big clubs have to adhere to as well. Even Newcastle United, if we had blockers on, that means we couldn't have a squad worth more than £1 billion. We could go out and buy £150 million striker. We could go out and buy a £100 million midfielder. We couldn't go and buy 11, 12, 14 of them because we'd go over the cap. But we could bloody well buy 2 or 3 of them, and we wouldn't have to sell our best players, our young prospects in the shape of Louis Miley and Longstaff, people like that. We wouldn't have to sell these players. We could bring from within, But that's what they're talking about. FFP was supposed to be designed to encourage clubs as well to grow from within. All it's encouraging is a conveyor belt to grow a player from within and sell him to one of the big boys for big money that you have to reinvest to buy centre half or striker or a keeper or something. It's utter bullshit and it stinks as shit. And well done, Gary Neville, for calling out. And I hope loads more people call it out as well, because the more pressure that you put on FFP, the more chance of it getting changed, amended, or even redacted, which I don't think will happen. But an amendment and a change 100%. Keep the pressure up, everybody, including those in media. Well played, Gary Neville. And that's all I've got to say about that. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. We always like to hear from you. Smash a like, subscribe, be a member if you fancy it. Less than £2 a month. All the content's free otherwise. Have a great day wherever you are, everybody, and we'll catch you later. Cheers, bye.